So hi, welcome to another video, and today we're going to be tearing down the M800. We've got the 3325 sensor and the 3335 sensor. We're going to do them side by side. We're going to weigh everything as usual, measure everything, PCB encoder, and also check out all the components and see what you can do for weight reductions and see how to take it apart in case it breaks. So if you're not familiar with my channel, it gives you the competitive edge over rival gamers. I've recently done a video comparing this M800 shape to the Viper range, worth checking out if you want to see whether it's going to fit your hand. If you're not already, like and subscribe to get this content first, to give you that edge over everybody else. So let's start off here by taking the skates off. We're using the standard method I use, which is using lighter fluid. I'll put a link to the description of the video on other methods that I've used, but this one I've found to be the best. The M800 skates that we're doing on stream here on Twitch Bearded Bob, which is where I do all my live streams. These are a little bit tricky to get off, especially on the 3325, which is always on the left in this video. And the 3335 will be on the right hand side. But you'll see these skates a little bit tricky to get off. They leave quite a lot of glue as well, and you want to replace these if you're changing them. They're a bit like the Zowie feet, which don't come off easily at all. One screw on the base, which is good to see, and the lower screw is for the diffuser. Standard 0.7mm skates. You'll see the 3335 skates come off a lot easier. So I don't know if they've changed the adhesive or it was just different on this mouse. So both look identical on the bottom. The general changes here are the sensor and the switches. The 3335 is going to use the Kale GM4s, but it'd be worth seeing if there's anything else. Use a standard Phillips screwdriver. Put all the links to the tools in my description as well. I've also done a weight reduction that I did on this full stream. I'll put a link in the description for that as well. You can see what I got it down to, around 53 grams, and I'll be doing an edited version for YouTube going forward. So on the diffuser, they've done what they've done on the MZ1 from Rocket Engine. They've cut the screw to make it a bit shorter. Don't know how everyone's starting to do this. Maybe because of the length of them. They're just using standard screws, not custom ones. So once you're taking out the back screw, you need to use your nail, or I use these sponges that I'm selling on my shop, and you can split up the side of it. Well, the clips they are pretty tough though. Took me quite a while on stream to do the first one. The second one was a lot easier. Just keep going though, don't overstretch it in case you snap it. You can try from the back first, which is what I did here. I just push something down the side and that tends to ping them. Makes it easy to open. So you can see the differences already on the switches. The main shells are identical. In fact, the main shells look like a Viper internal. If you're looking at the normal Viper, the mini one has plastic rivets, whereas this one is screwed like the normal Viper. The side buttons on this is what I don't like. There's one thing I'm not happy with on this mouse, it's the side buttons. And you can see it's using, in the 3325, the 20 million ohm ROMs, which are not the best switch. So the side buttons are a standard configuration. They've got two posts that they sit on. A lot of mice use this configuration. Nothing special here. If you want some switch comparisons, again, I've done a lot of videos on that for Kale and Huano. Still need to do my ohm ROM one though, which hopefully will come out in the next week or so. So there's two screws holding the buttons in. Take these out. There's no spring like in the Viper. It's good to see these in the same Opposy screwdriver here all the way through. A few bugs on my desk today because of the lights on. It's hot weather in the UK, so all the windows are open. Hello, Mr. Beetle. The diffuser just pulls off once you've unscrewed that one, obviously in the base, and then that just pings off pretty easily. It's clipped on. There's two clips holding it onto the rear panel. So far no differences. There's the main shells looking identical here. DPI has a little clip you pull to the side and it just pings out. Just be careful when doing that so you don't snap it. These are always delicate. Now on the rear panel there's two clips at the rear you need to push in, and then I use the plastic sponger to push down the side, as I always do, to help me release the rear panel, which are always very tight. So this will take you some time, just don't force it. What's also interesting here is it's got the same coating as a Viper, so you'll see people scratching out the back of it here to paint them and put different logos in. You can do this also on the M800, it's using the same coating, from what I can tell here anyway. Because they also split one of the legs slightly on this corner, so be careful when taking it off. I didn't do this on the next mouse though. Bit of glue fix that, no problemo. Then we've got this Exo Skeleton, a bit like on the Viper. As you can see, the main buttons have clips as well. These ones I found easier to push from the top of the shell inwards, and that pushes them off these little posts they're sat on once the clip's depressed, and then they'll just pop out. Similar design to the Razer Viper, the main buttons, just doesn't have the spring-loaded action. Other than that, pretty close. So this is what the Exo Skeleton looks like with all the buttons off, all the side buttons out, and the rear panel off. You can see definitely taking some inspiration from Razer on the way they tried to reduce the weight. No differences though between the 3325 and 3335, they're identical. So now onto the battery. They've taped it down at the rear. Never understand really why you don't put tape underneath it like M3, but I guess this makes it a little bit easier to take off, but I prefer it not being across it like that. Again, no differences in the design. The 3335's got exactly the same tape across it. This also causes a bit of an issue if you're slamming the mouse around a little bit. It'll lift because it's not stuck in like you can see on the 3335. It will lift up. That bit of tape won't hold it, which is why I prefer tape under the battery onto the holder. The 3325 battery is a little bit tougher to get out, so maybe there's a bit of a design change in these on the way the battery's stuck. This one has got tape underneath. It's a 3-pin connector, so it's got positive, negative, and a monitoring cable. It's a 3.5 volt, 500 milliamp battery, which is quite a large one. And these are the measurements. Comes in at 10 grams, which is a heavy battery. It's a monster. So what they're like, again, you've got a battery holder, a bit like on a G703. I'm not really a fan of these. Using a posi screwdriver again, so good old Phillips, we're going to call it. 2 screws holding that down. Both of them look identical on each model. You can see inside on the PCBs, any difference is the switches. Everything else looks identical here at this point in time. We're going to dig a bit further and see if there's any differences at all. There's 3 screws on the PCB, and you've also got the RGB into the scroll wheel. This is very similar to something like the Model O. So 3 screws, you can see the DPI is a kale, black shell, white dot. Not an Omron, this is the same in both of them as well. Once the 3 screws are out, the PCB just lifts out. There's no other clips, which is good to see. Doesn't cause any problems. You've also got the clear prism on the bottom of the PCB, which is picked up with it. It's stuck to it at the minute. This is what it looks like so far. Bit of tape over the sensor. Bit like the Viper Mini that uses a different type of tape, but same kind of idea. Pretty OEM scroll wheel. We can certainly replace that. It's got a black square yellow dot switch for the scroll wheel, which is press, which is a bit different. Not seen that one before. It's obviously USB-C. And it's using a Kale 10mm encoder, the grey version as well. These are the measurements for the PCB. Can't find any replacement side switches, which I want to change. Someone sends me a link, I'll take a look at some. I've seen some mods to change them to normal switches, but I expect it'll be a little bit mushy, but you never know. We could try that if you want me to. Let me know in the comments. Pretty well optimized, this PCB. Bit of QC controlling on the LED at the back here. It's all over the show. Really badly put on. Showing its quality there for sure. So no differences in the size of the PCBs in each of these mice. Identical. There's some tape over the sensor. I'd just be careful when peeling this because there's actually an exposed LED at the back, which does pick up with the tape, so be very careful. It hasn't got a cover over it like you'll see on something like the Viper Mini as well. So just be careful here when you take that tape off. You can damage it, maybe snap it off. Not the best design, if I'm honest. So some scroll wheel measurements, if you want to change it out, or you want to change the rubber or put a different scroll wheel in it, something like the G305 does fit in it. I'll show that in my weight reduction / mod video, so you can change that out pretty easily if you want. It's a much better scroll wheel. This one feels a bit rough, to be honest. Some measurements here for people that like to switch out the silicon ring. Definitely some options for this. These are ring measurements, so give you an idea of what you need if you want to change it yourself. And then you got the power switch, identical on both versions again. So no real changes so far, again just the sensor and the switches being different. All the other switches are the same for the scroll wheel, the DPI, and the encode is identical, including the side switches, which are LXA. The side switches are similar to the M710, I would say, which I don't particularly like. They've definitely got some quality control issues on the LEDs at the back. They are all over the show. So you've got 3325, you want some KL reds in them, you can do that, or you can send the mouse to me on my shop. The only other difference is the sensor, whether you want a 3325 or 3335. The base is absolutely identical, ABS printed. I'll be doing a video showing a Viper Mini with this PCB in it to show if it fits or not, to give you an idea of if you need to make any different measurements. And this is what it looks like when it's laid out. So left hand side 3325, right hand side 3335. Both identical pretty much. So thanks for watching this. Don't check out the videos. Check out the shape comparison for the M800 versus the Viper range. Links in the description. I'll see you soon. Catch you later. Bye bye.